business continuity plan is like this continuum. Okay. So if you consider it like a wheel or a cycle, a life cycle, and it really starts with, you have to identify. Okay. So this is risk assessment. So this is the kind of it's fun when it's not interrupting your business, right? To think about all the potential things that could go wrong and then how you're going to go about fixing each of them if they happen. Okay. So assessing the risks. Now, a risk can be a lot of things. I've run, restaurants, and so a risk could be a person slipping on the floor. Okay. A risk could be a person like cutting their hand, right? And so those are all little legitimate risks that happen quite frequently in that type of business environment. Now, if you're working in the field, your risks could be totally different, right? It could be personal protective equipment for different circumstances. It could be, do you have to wear certain types of fall protection equipment, right? All this stuff could be assessment of your risks in your activities, okay? And so that's the first step, is identify those risks. Step two is you want to analyze, okay? So really want to think about the business impact of any potential risks to your business in terms of dollars, in terms of available workforce, in terms of how you go about continuing operations, where and how. So you really want to analyze the impact of each of those potential risks. Then we get to work coming up with a strategy to respond, right? So this is where we come up with the solution. How are we going to, if a risk interrupts our business, how do we get back on track? Then we get into executing a plan. So we really want to have a plan development and an execution plan in place, okay? Writing out, if this happens, this is how we respond. These activities will occur, and the target timeline for responding is this and this, really getting down to the specific, the technical requirements of executing that plan to respond to a risk. And then you want to test your plan, okay? And so this is, to me, is also another fun element to do, is to actually practice a business interruption, okay? And to understand how to respond to that interruption. If your organization hasn't gotten like CPR training, it's very affordable, if not free, for small businesses. And so that's another way that you can indoctrinate skills into your workforce, build them into your plan, and then you can test those skills as well. So really think about that element of business continuity is testing and maintaining. Then we go back to revising our plan and then implementing it again in subsequent cycles. The stages of the business continuity plan. So again, the first step here is assess. And so that's where we look at physical damage to buildings. So when we think about this, you think about identifying any vulnerability in your organization, in your business model, and then think about the potential for these activities, okay? And then, so these are all the types of things that could happen, right? Physical damage to your building, a breakdown of equipment, restricted access to a site or a building. This is especially applicable, like if you live in areas where like there's flooding or tornadoes, it can disrupt the infrastructure and cause it so that you can't access the building. Something to think about if you're doing a lot of like content development there, to be able to have that all backed up to the cloud or someplace that you can access it without having to go to the physical location. And interruption of the supply chain, right? So thinking about if a supplier is disrupted as well and how that might impact your business. This is a real issue that happened during the pandemic response with the food processing supply chains, right? And we all heard about that. And so a lot of those downstream businesses didn't have a plan in place to continue the supply of like beef, right? And so they ended up contracting with local suppliers to supplement the incapacity or the incapability of the upstream suppliers. And so really thinking about redundancy of your supply chain as well. So for the sake of time, I'll probably just pick up every other one of these. But so I have, physical risks, right? So utility outages, damage or loss of information, or even your servers, your computers. So if there's a fire and the sprinklers go off, this is probably going to damage a lot of your electronic equipment. And so thinking about redundancy for that. absenteeism, and interruptions due to like the flu even, or bacterial contamination. I've managed businesses where, you know, people getting sick can become like a mini endemic, right? And so that can affect your ability to continue business. So any of these activities, you should think about the potential for interrupting your business and how you would respond. And here are a couple of different worksheets that you can use for determining all those different types of risks. All right. And so this here is what we would call a cause and effect diagram. And I built this on a platform called Creately. And you can open up a free account. But I did basically is I just show here potential risks due to coronavirus in terms of time, cost, resources, and environmental. And then I break this down even deeper into, time risks, shifting consumer demand throughout the day, right? So people now are not going out as much, and so that's going to affect, you know, foot traffic, or customers that cancel or delay orders, right? And so really thinking about the backbone of your business and how to tie reactions or problems to the interruptions themselves, right? And so how many of our companies have thought about if a customer cancels or delays orders, how that would impact how they respond, right? Is there restocking? Are there returns, right? And so really drilling down as specifically as possible for each type of interruption.